It's now time to get into our next major project, Dear Data. Dear Data is inspired by the real-life exchange of visual data between Georgia Lupi and Stephanie Posavec. These two women had a shared research interest, how we visualize data. What this means is essentially how we can see data in new ways. There's a rhetorical component to it too. Normal ways of visualizing data like bar charts or pie graphs get boring and stagnant. Lupi and Posavec brought a sense of creativity and excitement to the concept of data visualization, and it's something that will apply to our own project of Dear Data. Now, Lupi and Posavec wondered if you could get to know a stranger through data alone. So for 1 year, they collected data from their lives, transformed it into a visually appealing postcard, and mailed them across the ocean. We won't get into the interpersonal communication aspect of their project, but we will take inspiration from their process. So you will select something that you want to collect data on for yourself, and you will collect data for 7 days during this unit. Then you'll take that data and turn it into something for your audience to look at. There are tons of things you can choose to write about for this project. It's really up to you. Some of the examples on this list were things that Lupi and Posavec did themselves. Some of them are topics that my students last year collected data on. When I did this project to practice it before assigning it to students, I focused on data related to one of my hobbies. You won't be expected to share your data with strangers so they can get to know you. You will, however, have an audience to write to, and that audience for the purposes of this project is someone who doesn't know you, but that wants to get to know you. You are also part of your audience for this project. So something that I heard from a lot of students last year was that their behavior changed after this project. Having to write down every time they swore in a week was obnoxious, and it led to them choosing different vocabulary in their speech. Some other people didn't realize how much time they spend on TikTok until they graphed it, and then they were horrified and chose to delete TikTok or set screen time limits. Other people found it uplifting. It was gratifying to see that they actually have more positive thoughts throughout the day than they expected to, or they felt better when they drank enough water throughout the day. When you turn in your project, you'll turn in what we call the postcard, and you'll turn in a rhetorical rationale. The postcard doesn't have to be a physical, literal postcard. It's just your data visualization, but it's much faster to say postcard than it is to say data visualization. In your postcard, which can be physical or digital, you'll include at least 1 week's worth of data. You'll give it a title like Conscious Crocheting or Smiles This Week. Then you'll give us the data itself, designed and having a key with at least 3 codes. Now, coding and research can get intense and confusing, especially if it's not something that you're familiar with. When we say coding in this context for this project, it just means the different elements of data that you're collecting. You need at least 3. So I'm not just going to track how much water I drink in a day. Instead, to reach those 3 codes or 3 aspects of data, I'll look at how much water I drink in a day, how many times I pick up my water bottle, and how many or where I'm physically at when I'm drinking water. The more codes you set in your data collection, the more flexibility you have in what your visualization looks like. I recommend collecting more data than you're required to include because it gives you more freedom in how you do the project, and it can also just be cool to see. For the rhetorical rationale, you need to include how you collected your data. It can be physical or it can be digital, but it needs to show each of the 7 days that you collected data. I recommend taking a screenshot or a photo each time you record data, or at the end of the day, doing your data for that day. And then when it's time to turn your project in, you've got all of your information ready to go. You also need to write 750 words and answer all of the questions listed on the assignment sheet. This project is due on Sunday, March 1st at 11:59 p.m. You are eligible to use your one-time 1-week extension on this project, provided you did not use it on the previous project. If you did use it previously and you don't submit this project on time, it will be marked as incomplete and you will not have the opportunity to revise. You can check out Canvas for examples of this project, both from Dear Data and from previous students. And as always, please let me know if you have any questions.